Hey everyone, Reverend Cedarman here. Really great to see and hear from all of you this week. We've been working really hard at Enkyoji Temple and all of our satellite temples and spreading the Dharma. We really, by all the pictures that I've been seeing and everyone that I've been speaking to, we're growing, and it's because of your faith and your practice. So therefore, I really want to again thank all of you. Keep going, don't give up, encourage other people, grow. Study and practice. Make sure that you're getting your practice in every day, because that's ultimately what changes us, and that's ultimately what allows us to spread the Dharma. Today, you may have not known, I just returned from doing our service today, which was a memorial service for Morihei Ueshiba, who is the founder of Aikido, a modern-day Budo that we practice. And here at the Enkyoji temples, we have Jisokai. Jisokai is our Buddhist-based themed Aikido, in which is taught and led by Bernie Lao Sensei. So one of the reasons why we celebrate it, because there are many people that practice Aikido. However, Aikido these days have just become a physical practice. Perhaps even the idea that it's no longer even a Budo or a martial style, that actually it's become simply an exercise, or in some sense forms of a dance. So sometimes it depends on which dojo you go to. Basically, what are they practicing? Are they practicing Aikido? And that's my question for today for you, for everyone. Not only, and I'm going to put this in context with our Buddhist practice, but are you practicing? Are you practicing Buddhism for real? Are you practicing Nichiren Shonin's Buddhism? Are you really practicing Morihei Ueshiba's Aikido? And that, or something else. And that's what we need to constantly be asking ourselves. So actually today we did an awesome demonstration to the spirit of Ueshiba Sensei, O-Sensei as he's known. And actually I wanted to share you with something that actually is probably not so well known, but we're going to be hanging it up in our temple for sure, because these rules during training are actually quite important, and I wanted to share these with you, because today I gave a sermon or a teaching about how this can be brought into our Buddhist practice. Because one of the things that I brought up, why do we practice Aikido? Why do we practice Jisokai Aikido? It's because a lot of Buddhism, a lot of religion, a lot of paths, a lot of teachings remove the body. Either the body is despised or it's just not talked about. But we know as Buddhists that our bodies, even though they are distracting and actually we realize they are impermanent, that is part of our human nature. That is part of our nature as well. And we need to take care of mind, body, and spirit. And that's what we study and practice here in Enkyoji Network, is that we encapsulate and support all of the aspects of our life. Because when you feel good, you practice. When you practice, you feel good. Also, we neglect the body. We don't eat correctly. We don't sleep correctly. We don't physically exercise. And the other thing is, we don't learn about what our body can and cannot do. And most important, I believe, the reason why we practice Aikido is because it humbles us. Because actually, we as human beings are extremely vulnerable. Our bodies are not strong. Our bodies are extremely weak, easy to be punctured, easy to be cut, easy to be scraped. Lots of things, lots of damage, especially even our head. That's why now, as opposed to when I was a child, we wear helmets. And the reason why is because we know how important the body is and how easy it can be damaged. So with that being said, O-Sensei left us 6 teachings that he said that need to be posted in the dojo, need to be expounded within the teachers' curriculum, that we understand as practitioners why and what we are there for. And this is the same with the Sangha. That's why I'm bringing it in, because we at Enkyoji Network call ourselves dojos, not necessarily temples. The temple is the actual association, the organization, but the place where we come every time to practice the Dharma, to study the Dharma, is a dojo. And a dojo means a place of practice. Not sitting around passively listening to the teaching, but actually being engaged, and being engaged with others, which is extremely important. So number 1, Aikido decides life and death in a single strike. So students must carefully follow the instructor's teaching and not compete to see who is strongest. Now, I took this into context not only in the dojo, because when you're practicing, feats of, basically fighting, somebody gets hurt. And the purpose of us practicing is that both people practice, and that when you are being thrown as a uke, or you're the one being throwing the person nage, it's the same. And that both aspects of our Aikido practice are important. And that also comes into the context of Buddhism. Buddhism is about life and death. This is the most important thing. This is the medicine to ease our suffering, to ease the poison that is in our bodies and minds. That when we study Buddhism, we become light, we become awakened, we become encouraged, we have a mission. And that life itself, it's so easy to strike a single death blow to people. And when we look at this, not just the physical fighting or the physical blow, but the emotional blow, that we as Buddhists understand how easy it is to damage people. Also, when we look at the Sangha, we must be mindful and considerate of the people in our Sangha, that we are looking out for their best interests, just as we wouldn't throw our uke severely down so that he would break his arm. When we see our fellow Sangha members, we should treat them with the same kindness that we treat ourselves. And from that, we learn compassion. And the other thing is not to compete. Buddhism is not a competition. We're not out getting numbers. We're out changing lives. We're out allowing people to find their fullest potential. That's the reason for our mission. Not building a huge organization, not getting numbers, not saying that we have this many members. It doesn't matter. Quality, not quantity. Number 2, Aikido is the way that teaches how one can deal with several enemies. Students must train themselves to be alert, not just to the front, but to the sides and back. And what that means is that in Buddhism, we need to be alert at all times. We need to be aware of our surroundings. We need to be considerate of the people around us. And the same is when we come into the temple. We need to be able to deal with multiple situations. Buddhism is not about looking at one individual or looking about one situation. We look at the general situation. That is why we look at compassion and wisdom rather than doctrine or dogma as far as religion is concerned. Buddhism is something that's inculcated in our lives. And so therefore, that is how we grow, and that is how we progress. Number 3, training should always be conducted in pleasant and joyful atmosphere. Now this is something very important both for the dojo, the martial arts dojo, and our Buddhist dojo, is that when we practice Buddhism, joyful and pleasant atmosphere. When we were talking today about this particular precept by O-sensei, we said even Nichiren Buddhism, we're a joyful, pleasant practice. Even if you look at the instrumentation that we use when we chant the Daimoku, most Buddhist groups use a mokugyo, which is a very deep sound, a very low sound. But the moksho that we use in Nichiren Buddhism is very vibrant and very alive, and stimulates our mind, stimulates our joy. And also we're known, and I very much appreciate and very much happy, noisy Buddhists, because we expound our joy. We expound it to others so that people can hear it, and people can be able to become inspired and be able to aspire to becoming a Buddha. Number 4, the instructor teaches only one aspect of the art. Its versatile applications must be discovered by each student through incessant practice and training. What that means, you must do the work. You must practice. The instructor, the teacher, the Buddha, Nichiren Shonin, ourselves, always with us, but ultimately we know our lives is the proof in the pudding. Our lives are the example of why and how Buddhism works. We are the example of why Buddhism can go beyond boundaries of space and time. So therefore it's very important that when we practice, we understand it's not up to the sensei, it's not up to the Buddha, Nichiren Shonin, to make us practice. We have to be inspired to practice. We have to be inspired to share with others. We have to be inspired to grow in our own lives so that when others see us as the Buddha approaching, they become inspired and say there is hope. Because in this world, everywhere we go, we see that there's not hope. We just see suffering. We just see hatred. We just see greed. We see this especially at this time in our country. We see this in this world. And the only remedy, the only medicine is Buddhism and the Lotus Sutra specifically. Number 5, in daily practice, first begin by moving your body and then progress to more intensive practice. Never force anything unnaturally or unreasonably. If this rule is followed, then even elderly people will not hurt themselves and they can train in a pleasant and joyful atmosphere. This is essential because, again, it comes back to practice. That first, and how I interpret this and how we discuss this today was first by moving our body means in the morning when we wake up, what are we grounded in? What are we basing our lives on? What are we basing our day in? And the important thing is that that's why we have morning service, is that we prepare ourselves to the day. And the middle of the day is when we get to practice and expound that joy, show that joy, and grow in that joy and enlightenment of the Buddha. And then in the evening we reflect upon it so that we understand, maybe I used too much force, maybe I was too blunt, maybe I didn't have enough effort or enough energy, which is also important, the middle way. And also important that all people can join in. Aikido was taken from a very, as we were telling the history of O-sensei's teacher, Takeda sensei, that actually the viciousness and actually martial application of the jiu-jitsu aspect, Aiki jiu-jitsu aspect of the teaching that as he had learned it, he transposed it and expounded it in an enlightened way, in which not only did it preserve the body, but it enlightened the body, mind, and spirit all in one aspect, which is why Aikido is so wonderful and phenomenal in this world. Next, last one, number 6. The purpose of Aikido is to train mind and body to produce sincere, earnest people. Since all techniques are to be transmitted person to person, do not randomly reveal them to others, for this might lead to them being used by hoodlums. What does that mean? Well, the Buddha in the Lotus Sutra also says, be very careful how and what you expound to people, according to their capacity. Chapter 2, Expedience. We must look at the person, see what they need. And this is part of your enlightenment, this is part of your wisdom, to be able to care or to be mindful of what others need, and then to be able to deliver that. We have to be careful that we don't produce hoodlums. And what that means is thieves. In the idea of thieves of virtue, as they say in Confucianism. And so therefore, as we move forward to being able to expound the Dharma and to grow our Sanghas, let's take into consideration not only in our Aikido dojo, but also in our temple dojo as well. So therefore, I hope all of you have a great week, and thank you very much for joining us today. And I'll talk to you all next week. We have a few videos coming out. One will be about lay leader training, and one will be about some of our other programs. Thank you very much.